Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name is Luke Payson, and I am honored to have Lateesha Mohl back on the program. Lateesha, welcome back.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Always great having you on the show. And I feel like every time you're on the show, something else exciting is happening in your life. You first came back on the show once you had won a title in amateur MMA. Then you came back on the show when you were talking about pro boxing, which you won. And now you're back on the show to talk about making your pro Muay Thai and kickboxing Muay Thai debut. So let's talk about that. What was it like making your debut a few days ago?
It was awesome. It's something that I've really been trying to do within the past year. I've been trying to make a pro debut in kickboxing and also in MMA. It's been hard to get matched for some reason. Um, so it's been really exciting, and I had a lot of fun.
Well, that reason might be because you knock people out, but I think it's a good thing that that tends to happen. So this was your pro Muay Thai debut, and talk about like the buildup and the atmosphere and kind of all the aspects before round one that you experienced making that walk. What was it? Did you feel as comfortable as you do with some of the other combat sports? It was a little different because it is a unique environment making your debut.
Hey, sorry, Luke. It cut out. You're like kind of frozen.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully you can still hear me. Can you hear me?
You're you're. I can
Oh,
hear you a little bit. You're kind of in and out.
yeah, we have thunderstorms in our area and it's messing up with the internet.
Um,
Um, can you walk us through? Uh-oh, if you can't hear me. Oh
it's
no.
still in and out a little bit.
Can you walk us through your first round of the fight? No. Shoot.
I can't hear what you're saying because it's too choppy.
Yeah, I get you. Oh, that's unfortunate. All right, let's see if
Uh,
we can I'm gonna try to save this interview and chat with you. Let's see. Hey, tell us about the first round. Let's see if this works. Um,
okay. So the first round of the fight, so we kind of came out. I knew that I had to come out fast, especially in a kickboxing K1 rule set. It's more about activity and landing, flush solid strikes. So I came out. I know she's southpaw, so we have certain combos that we drill at our gym for specifically southpaw fighters. So it really was just a matter of coming out, making sure I was finding my range, scoring points, and then I kind of realized after like the first 10 or 15 seconds that I really needed to start picking the pace up a little more to make sure I'm scoring more points. Also, being the away team, which is usually the story for most of my fights because it's really hard to find fights in my state. I knew that I had to convincingly win. So that kind of just pushed me a little more to make sure I was throwing consistent combos coming forward. And my corners did an amazing job with supporting me with that. They were telling me what they wanted me to throw, when to throw it. So the first round was pretty good. I did hurt her front leg. I noticed that towards the end of the round, she was kind of starting to withdraw it as I was landing leg kicks. So I knew I was throwing damaging shots. And I was hoping that the judges were seeing that. And I would say by the end of the first round, I felt pretty confident. I landed some solid knees, and I actually landed a knee to the face. And I believe I landed a couple head kicks. So first round closing out felt really good. Okay, I think you're back.
great.
Your your
Thank you.
your screen is a little frozen.
Well, we'll see if you can you hear me this way?
Yeah, I can hear you so far.
Okay, we'll make it work. I appreciate you being patient with the technical difficulties. What was the advice? You talked about round one. What was the advice in the corners going into round two? Because you felt so good coming in into round two, into that break.
Yeah, so going into the corner after round one, um, I had three corners, Zach Kelly, Christian Carr, and then my boyfriend Jeff were all in my corner. Zach and Christian are really big in the fight world, so it was great to have them in my corner, and they're my favorite coaches. So they were super excited after the first round. I was super excited, but they kind of had to bring me back into like, okay, we're still fighting, let's focus. So they were saying that the knees were there, especially when we got close because she would kind of duck her head. So they said to make sure I was, getting ready to throw knees close in, setting up my shots, since she was southpaw, making sure I'm keeping my foot on the outside. So setting that up with a short combo and a short leg kick, and then throwing my combos after, and then making sure that I end with a kick and then follow up with some kind of punches at the end. I believe that was the majority of the stuff they told me. I might be missing some stuff because, adrenaline and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty straightforward, and we pretty much, it was pretty clear what we needed to do.
And then what set up the finishing setup? Because you ended up getting the TKO in round two. So it sounds like it played out exactly like the corners told you to kind of work with.
Yeah, so there was a point where my corner Christian called for a left hook and then a right knee, which did land really great to the body. So I feel like that kind of was the tip of of the finish. So that kind of started it. My right hand was landing a lot. It was doing a lot of work for me. I could tell, at one point she started to get hurt, started backing up, which eventually led me to backing her up in the corner, landed another knee to the face, which she kind of took. And then my other corner, Zach, called for a right high kick, which that was the beginning of the end. She stumbled back. And then at that point, my corners were actually calling for me to throw other things. And what they weren't able to hear because the place was so loud, the ref was next to me and I could hear him telling my opponent Jess that, she either needed to get out of the corner or defend herself or he was going to stop the fight. So they weren't able to hear that. So I didn't want to risk my position of letting her out. So that's why I had stayed on her. I kind of left the high kicks out. I focused on short inside shots, knees, anything to promote damage, because I knew the ref was getting close to stopping. So I just kind of went full blast through everything that I had. And then I was able to get the finish.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks for giving us your insight on the stoppage. It's also one of the things that I know both of your, well, I don't know your boyfriend, but I know your other two coaches pretty well. I've interviewed them before. They're great, like you said. But it's also a big part of being a corner is seeing things and calling for things, but recognizing that only the fighter's in there. Like only the fighter has the knowledge of what's going on in the fight, whether it be what the ref is saying or whether it be an injury or what they're experiencing in their body. So makes perfect sense that you took their advice to set up the finish, but then you had to take over and go with what was going to work for you. You've talked a lot about kind of putting everything together, and you've been on and off the show now for I think about 3 years. You've been here quite a few times. Does it feel like everything is kind of really peaking and you're starting to get the performances that I know you had talked years ago about, knowing that you're capable of these type of impressive performances?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a really long time coming and it's been a lot of work to get where I am, not just physically, but mentally. I, at the beginning of, taking this fight, I haven't fought for about a year. The last time I fought was last year in April. So it's not that I wasn't training. It's, fights were falling through. I couldn't get matched. I was working really hard. So it took a lot of manifesting to make this debut happen, but it also took a lot of mental training. I feel like for this, this fight that I just had, it's the most calm I've been. It's the most like clear-headed I've been. It's the most confident I've been. I could see everything. I knew what was going on. I was listening to my coaches. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of things in one. It's a lot of, learning from past fights, but also learning from, the mental side of things, what I needed to work on. I feel like this is the best I've felt, but I feel like this is just the beginning of the best that I've felt. Like, I feel like it's just going to go up from here.
Well, and that's an incredible feeling for you and your coaches. I know you've shared before on this show about working to improve your mental health and your the fight side, the sports psychology side of things, which obviously it sounds like you're really making those adjustments. And there's something in counseling called strength-based counseling, where you look at what's been working. And obviously right now that you can build on a lot of the stuff that's been working mentally, your mental prep, the way you manage your emotions, the way you've been listening to your corners and kind of getting that flow state, some of the things that I know they work with sports psychology. You brought up the idea of kind of feeling like things are just going to get better from here. So what is next for you? What do you want to see out of yourself going forward, not just in performances, but also you have about 3 different sports you're in, boxing, the kickboxing, Muay Thai, which this one was kickboxing. In the beginning, I said Muay Thai, so I apologize for that. It was kickboxing, and also MMA. So where would you want to go from here?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is always to, go as far as I can, make it as high as I can as far as, promotions and things like that. So I am open, I would love, love, love to fight pro kickboxing again. It's just unfortunate there's not a lot of need for women. It's hard to get matched in kickboxing. It's really hard to get matched in kickboxing, especially in the United States. We just don't really have like the demand for it here. Um, it seems like Muay Thai is a lot easier to get matched in, but that's just not my preferred rule set. And then of course MMA, I'm open to. I want to fight pro MMA. I've been trying to fight pro MMA. Like I said, I'm not sure what it is. I tell people my weight class and they send me matches that aren't in my weight class. So I just want to make it a point. I fight at 125 pounds, 122, 125, no higher, no smaller. And I'm open for, K1 rule set, Glory rule set, MMA rule set. So really whatever I can get. It has to be kind of local for now because I'm still in college. So once I graduate, I can definitely expand my horizons. But yeah, I'm willing to take whatever I can get at this point.
Well, and I think it's obviously good that this fight came together, that the promotion set you up, and obviously your performance was incredible. I think it's another good thing about like the mental side of things is controlling what you can control, because that's all you can work on, right? It is frustrating to go over a year between fights, training and being ready, but a lot of times the mental game, when fighters aren't getting matched, they slack off, and then when a match comes along, they're not ready. So it's working on controlling what you can control. Hopefully there are matches that come along for you. I think you're an exciting type of fighter that wants to fight at 2 different kickboxing rule sets and pro MMA. You sound like a very exciting fighter, and hopefully there's promotions and matchmakers and girls out there, women out there that want to also fight at that 122 to 125 weight class, which I think is exciting. And obviously at the UFC level, 125 is a big deal. Like there's great matchups there. There's a lot of excitement around that. I think that was the Joanna champion weight class, if I remember right. And the Rose.
Joanna's 115, Rose is 115, but Valentina's 125.
Oh, yes. Valentina
Yeah,
was
and then,
okay.
yeah. So she's the 125, but she just got beat by I forget her name.
Oh, the Chinese lady.
No, it was I think she's Brazilian. I forget her name. That's cool.
There's so many fights. I try to keep up on
Yeah,
them, but it's tough.
I mean, there's so many opportunities, even not at the UFC level, but like Bellator, Invicta, I know has, it's just a matter of getting my foot in the door and trying to get those connections. So, I'm trying.
Well, I think you're doing great. You mentioned college. What year are you in college, and what's your major? Because that's great that you're able to try to do all of this at one time, a lot to balance.
Yeah, I have a lot going on. I'm in a medical degree, respiratory therapy. So it's kind of like an accelerated program. So you have you do school year round, like you don't have summer semester off. So that's why I'm in college right now. And I actually graduate in August. So I'm in my last semester, I'm almost done. But yeah, it's kind of hard to travel because I can't miss class. So once I graduate, I can maybe go a little further and get more opportunities to fight other women, maybe, on the West Coast and things like that.
Well, that does make a lot of sense. And obviously I think it's great that you're keeping the focus on what matters and your schooling matters. And August is now at this point not that far away. So I'm sure it's felt like it would be forever away, but now it seems like on the horizon. To be able to finish out in August, I'm sure is super exciting. And yeah, thanks for bringing up Invicta. For people that don't know, that's an all women's MMA, and they are incredible. I mean, I pretty much every known female fighter that's ended up in like the UFC level has come from Invicta. I think at one point they just brought over a whole division from Invicta to create some of the divisions when the UFC was growing into women. So very, very exciting. I'm glad that you're kind of focused on all those things. For you, what stood out as kind of the biggest learning or the biggest sort of takeaway from your pro debut in kickboxing?
So the biggest thing I focused on in camp was to, make sure that I was, pulling the trigger, being first, because that's something I kind of struggled with in the past, especially like in the first round. I'm usually like I like to feel it out the first round, and then like never underestimating my opponent. Now, of course, in this situation, Jessica's a solid opponent. Jessica has, I mean, probably more fights than I do, amateur and pro combined. I mean, she's fought on Bellator. She's 10-1 as an amateur kickboxer. So like she was no joke coming into this fight. She fights out of Law MMA in New York. So, I knew this was a big challenge for a pro kickboxing fight. And so the focus was really to, take it serious but not too serious, pull the trigger but have fun. And I had fun and I was confident. So I would say that was like my biggest takeaway before the fight. And then after the fight, I might have been a little sloppy in there. I don't normally drop my hands. I think it was more of a confidence thing after the first round. But that's something I'd like to tweak up a little bit, just a little cleaner. Maybe I was a little too forward and squirrely and things like that. But of course that comes with, experience and time as a pro. So other than that, I mean, there's not too many bad things I could say about this fight, which is rare because I'm always really hard on myself, even after a win. But yeah, those are probably my two biggest takeaways.
Well, I think it's always great to see things that you can improve, and obviously you saw a few things. But I think also for you, and you've worked so hard to deal with the psychology part. It's good to know when confidence can be a good thing. It's good to know when things have come together, and that's really important for you to actually. You're now at a place where a few years ago you knew you could be, but you just weren't there yet. So I think it's important to recognize that you're actually becoming the fighter that you've known you could be for years, and that's a good thing. So I think it's also good to come away with confidence when confidence is due, and obviously in this fight it is. So it's always an honor having you on the show. I know your coach, you mentioned him, Christian Carr has a fight coming up, I believe in early fall, September maybe, for MMA.
He's August 5th for
August.
Maverick.
Oh, August 5th. Okay. I see a lot of dates. August. Okay.
I know. Yeah.
That's exciting. I hope to have him on here because I've had him on before, and he's an incredible fighter, like you mentioned, and his fight nickname of Strictly Business, I just think is hilarious. And so it's always great. What?
It's a good fight name.
It is. It's fun, and it's also always great. It's always great when you have fighters like you mentioned, Zach Kelly and Christian Carr are a big deal in fighting, but to see them also becoming good coaches is also a great thing. Like the fact that they're coaching you and that they're developing both as a coaches and as a fighter. It's really cool to see that, even though they're in their own careers. So it's always wonderful having you on the show. Please know that I can't wait to have you on the next time you have a fight set, and looking forward to that. Best wishes to you, obviously, in finishing out your respiratory therapist degree, and just a huge congratulations to you, Lateesha. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Luke. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
It's great. The pleasure and the honor is all mine. And thanks for everybody watching this, for sticking through some of the technical difficulties in the beginning. It's just been a lot of fun. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
You got it.